Welcome to Q&A practice. We'll start out with a little two voice. Get our fingers warmed up. Ready? Here we go. I thought you indicated that there was one area that was totally obscured and there was a number there. I think you misunderstood. There was an identification tag on the gun which seemed to carry two numbers. Because of the amount of paint that was present, I wasn't certain of either of the numbers. I read them as best I could. You're not quite sure whether there was a representative from Grayson there on that first occasion. Is that correct? That's correct. What makes you believe that there might have been? Well, I can remember being in the room with Mr. Kern at least once. I know he was there when we packed up the equipment. The point that makes my memory uncertain is that I recall him taking photographs of the room, and I was a little scared, but I don't recall that day that was on. On the second occasion, which would have been January 20, that also took place at the same location? Yes. What took place on that date? That's the date, as I recall, that he and I together did only as much disassembly as was necessary to get the equipment into, I think it was 2 cardboard cartons. He is who? Mr. Kern. That's the only thing that took place. I think you mentioned photographing. Yes, well, if there was photographing done on that day, it was Mr. Kern. I know I remember him taking photographs in the paint booth area at one time, and those are the only 2 possibilities. So assuming that the photographing took place on the second occasion, do you recall what items he photographed besides the spray booth? No, sir, I stood near the door at the time, so I didn't watch what he was photographing. Did you observe him do anything other than take photographs? Well, as I say, he and I worked together in the minor assembly. All right, now let's get into some 4-voice practice. And we will start with the plaintiff attorney. Ready? In the email that carries over from the first page to the second page, there's an J002641 to J002642. There's a reference to a patent held by S.K. Wilkes. Do you see that? Yes. Do you have any idea what that's referring to? No, I do not. Would you agree with me, based on these deposition exhibits we've been looking at, that Ryder North at one point in 2001 was considering commercializing a center design canopy? Is that fair? I honestly don't know. I wasn't involved. You can take the emails for what they're worth. I also object to that question as being outside the topic and therefore not binding on Ryder North. In fact, I object to all the questions regarding the center design for the same reason. I think they're covered by the categories or topics I already referenced, but let's categorize and move on. 27. Thank you. All right, I've put before you Deposition Exhibit 27, which is a series of emails in August and September of 2001. Is that a fair statement? Yes. On the second to last page, which is J024317. Okay. The email on the bottom is from Jake Small, dated May 22nd, 2002. Do you see what I'm referring to? Yes. Under number 1, there's a reference to a patent issue on bag on top. Do you have any idea what that's referring to? No, I don't. What does PIP stand for? I'm not sure. That's 28, is that correct? Yes. So I've just put before you Deposition Exhibit 28, which is entitled 2002 PIP Order List, begin parens, gazebo, end parens. Did I read that accurately? Yes. So I take it that would be third-party manufacturers who supply product, at least frames, for Ryder North. Is that fair? Correct. So my understanding is Ryder North manufactures a majority of its own frames internally, but then uses third-party suppliers to provide it with the remainder of the frames. Is that fair? Yes. And I take it, well, first of all, on Exhibit 28 there, the second column from the left is supplier. Do you see where I am? Yes. And those are all the PIP third-party suppliers. Is that fair? Yes. And these are the third-party suppliers that supplied at least the frames of the canopies in 2002 that are at issue in this case. Is that fair? Yes. There's one supplier that's identified as Braden. Do you know who that is? No, I do not. So you couldn't give me any identifying information for them, I take it? No. You can figure it out? No problem. Okay. What I've put before you is Deposition Exhibit 29. It's entitled 2002 Proposed Tent Line. It's dated June 14th, 2002. Is that a fair statement? Yes. Do you know whether this product was ever commercialized? I do not off the top of my head. I don't remember. It appears to me that it uses the type of frame that's at issue in this case. Would you agree? Objection to the extent it calls for speculation. It's hard to tell just based on this picture, but you don't know whether this was ever sold. Not this specific model, no. How about any model like it that uses this type of frame for a tent as opposed to a canopy or gazebo? Yeah, we made one in 2004. I think that was like that. 2004, I think. And who did you sell it to? I'm not sure. It should be on any order list that we have. Do you know whether those products sold in 2004 were included in the spreadsheet that was provided to us? Yeah, I believe so. It was a complete dump of information, so okay. Steve, I've just put before you Deposition Exhibits 30 and 31. Let me direct your attention first to Deposition Exhibit 30. Were you involved in any way in obtaining this document for production to Braden and Wilton? Yes. How did you go about requesting the pictures depicted in Deposition Exhibit 30? Say that again. How did I go about requesting? How did you identify which products to obtain engineering drawings for? Based on direction from counsel. Okay, was the direction consistent with Deposition Exhibit 31? And please take your time and read it. I'm ready. Can you read back the question, please? It seems accurate. Basically, it tells me any gazebo that we made that fits within that scope, so that's where these came from. So, in Deposition Exhibit 31, just to direct your attention, there are basically 3 conditions set out. Is that a fair statement? Yes. I'll characterize it a little bit differently. There are 3 criteria listed in Deposition Exhibit 31. Is that fair? Yes. And the third criteria, I'll just read it into the record. At least one member running between a roof support member and a corner support member. Did I read that correctly? Yes. So are you saying that all the gazebos sold by Ryder North included that third item? I'm not sure if they all would or not. Okay. Do you understand the third item in Deposition Exhibit 31 to be describing what is referred to, in this case, as the connection members? I'm going to object to that. you're trying to characterize a term that's used in patent, and this is a definition for producing products, and the definition in here given in here is different than what's in the patents. Mr. Hansen is not here to construe patent terms or even try to. He's not an expert on our behalf. It actually calls for speculation, and I object on that basis. I'm not sure if this relates to what you're discussing. And that will conclude our Q&A practice.